got my ticket, gave away all I have made. I would like to join the human race. Give me a room, God, want to show me to my space. I'm ready, I'm ready to live again. I'm ready, I'm ready to live again.
When I was 8 years old, we did a project in primary school on the indigenous peoples of the United States of America. It was my favourite part of the day, a light on dull school afternoons. We were taught that the male members of the tribe were called braves, and the female members were referred to as squaw. From then on, whenever I heard the American national anthem, I assumed that the last line, "and the home of the brave," referred to Native American men. And because I'm a bit of a feminist, whenever I would hear the song in my own house, like on TV, I would sing "and the home of the squaw," because I would think, let's hear it for those indigenous women too. My husband Sparks thinks this is hilarious and sadly, naively foreign and liberal of me. He's assured me that the person who wrote that song probably wasn't really honouring women or indigenous people, but more likely the tenets of freedom and tenacity. I like my version of the song though, and if truth be told, when I learned about Native Americans as a kid, I didn't want to be a squaw, I wanted to be a brave. A boy with a horse and feathers in his hair who had skill with a bow and arrow. When I was a tomboy of a girl, I wanted nothing more than to be brave. To climb tall trees and jump off piers into freezing water faster and before and without fear of the boys. Bravery was a talent to be admired, and for almost all of my life, when I didn't feel it, I would fake it, and I was good at faking it. As it turned out, the bravest part of me was one I had neglected, one I had left completely unseen. Like most high-spirited children, I was taught to distrust my overactive imagination and my unruly emotions. Daydream less, be more careful, don't be so dramatic. As a young woman, I worked diligently to obey those rules, and for a while they protected me. I worked hard to have common sense and tried my best to shed tears of pain or elation in private. I had a wary acquaintance with my own imagination and only let my emotions lead the way when I was singing on stage. That was the only time it was really helpful. Now, as a traumatised 38-year-old, my imagination and the strong inner voice crying to be noticed became my lifeline. A way for God to reach me in the depths where I had buried my me.
I'm young enough to bleed, but old enough to never want to again. Young enough to bleed, old enough to never have to again. I'm young enough to bleed, old enough to never need to again. Young enough to bleed, old enough to never want to again. Do you remember the time I was bleeding in the bathroom and you came and held me tight? Cried and I cried and I cried and I cried, and I could feel your hands gripping tight around my ribcage. I knew you were my mother. I knew you were my lifeline. I'm young enough to bleed.
This is how I came to a day when I went to find my crone, my hag. I let my heart and soul lead the way. Alone on my bed, I went to my wounded self and I opened the little crate I'd been keeping her in for years. I held my breath. Nails, teeth, a hag, long locked away, breathing cries of agony. I waited for her to emerge. But what suddenly stood before me was in every way unlike my pre-imagined idea. She stooped low to come out of her cell door, and then, unbent, she stood tall. Very tall.
You will never own me. Oh, 'cause love has come and bought me. And you will never find me. 'Cause you won't even recognize me. And you could not accuse me anymore, no. Oh, 'cause your words mean nothing to me. So you will never own me again. Oh, 'cause love has come and got me. I'm walking out of here alive.
Oh my God, I cried breathless. You're so brave, so incredibly brave. You're stunningly resilient. The words poured out my mind and mouth without premeditation or quickened thought. Instantly, she had me in tears, shocked by her strength, breathless at her steadied calm. I had no idea beforehand what I would say to my old wounded self, who I had ignored for so long. Perhaps an apology for my neglect, or comforting words of, "You're safe now." Clearly, I had no idea who she truly was. She was like iron, no, like gold, malleable and forge-worthy in the hands of the smith. She shone with light, and I was undone by how well she had taken the task laid before her. Months of hunger, of grief, of questions and heartache. She had chosen forgiveness when it wasn't required, just offered as a path to follow. You have to understand, I had hated this part of me. The slightest memory of those months of hunger were agony. I hated the taste of her in my mouth, ashes and bitter, bitter tears. She was a wreck, a failure, and I wanted rid of her. Now I was suddenly utterly thankful and utterly humbled. I was weeping in repentance for my blindness and hatred. I was the kneeling one asking forgiveness. She was the tower who had borne the shockwave of pain. The strong surviving me, the one who had locked all pain away. I thought she was the tough one. She would get me out of this, keep me safe. Little had I known, God is with the weak. We can't do it. The chain smokers, the starvers, the nervous breakdowners. Blessed are the poor in spirit, theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So you could say I forgave myself for being weak, for being a victim, for falling to pieces, but in truth my wounded self forgave me. I am eternally grateful to her for allowing herself to be so broken and walk the path set before her, stumbling and trembling, but walking it alive.
Mine, and I'm walking out of here alive. I may be stumbling and trembling as I leave. I'll be walking out here, and I'll be walking out. Please.